You think history is just a bunch of boring dates in a textbook? How about a king whose jaw was so messed up he couldn't close his mouth and just drooled all day? Or a queen forced to marry her own brothers, only to murder them in cold blood? What if I told you that anthrax spores from ancient graves could end up in your lungs today while you're just taking a walk in the park? This is the reality they hide behind lavish portraits and mind-numbing dates. And today, we're ripping off all the masks. A genetic nightmare. All right, folks, buckle up. Today we're diving into a historical rabbit hole so dark it'll make your skin crawl. Forget the noble kings and beautiful princesses from the fairy tales. We're about to talk about a true genetic nightmare. I'm not talking about make-believe monsters. I'm talking about real flesh and blood people whose bodies were a walking, rotting from the inside out catastrophe. Picture this. You're born with a massive, jutting lower jaw, so large you can't close your mouth. Ever. Drool is constantly running down your chin, staining your silk collars. You try to speak, but instead of majestic decrees, all that comes out is an unintelligible mumble that only your closest servants can understand. And eating? Oh, eating is daily torture. You have to shove every piece of food down your throat, risking choking, because you're physically incapable of chewing properly. Your teeth don't meet. They grow in every which way, rotting and causing a hellish, unending pain. Think that's it? Ha, not even close. Oh, but we're just getting started. Let's add a few more fun-size features to this delightful package. How about epileptic seizures that twist your divinely chosen body in front of the entire court? Or hydrocephalus, which makes your head swell up like a balloon while your intellect drops to that of a toddler? Your legs are weak, barely supporting your body. Every step is an ordeal. And you know why this all happened? Greed, power, and pure, unadulterated arrogance. They were so terrified of losing their titles and lands that they spent centuries marrying their own cousins, uncles, and nieces. They wanted to keep the bloodline pure. But that's what the boring history books won't tell you. They'll show you portraits in lavish outfits, but they won't tell you that beneath the velvet and lace hid rotting teeth, twisted spines, and constant humiliation. They won't tell you about the smell, the stench of sickness that no perfume could ever mask. To give you an idea of the sheer scale of this tragedy, imagine the throne room. It doesn't smell of incense, but of medicine and an unwashed body, because proper hygiene is hell for someone that sick. Instead of a monarch's grand speech, you get wheezing and drool-flecked mumbling. Their children, the heirs to great empires, were born even weaker, dying in infancy, one after another, in their luxurious cradles. This wasn't a dynasty. It was a slow, agonizing decay for the whole world to see. They wanted to keep power in the family, and instead, they turned their own family into a freak show. Their crowns were heavy, but their own bodies were their most terrifying prison. The horrifying price of power. All right, my friend, you buckled in? Today we're diving into a story so dark it will make your hair stand on end. We're talking about the horrifying price of power. And I'm not talking about your run-of-the-mill schemes or bribery. No, I'm talking about what people will do when the crown is so close you can touch it. Specifically, how you had to get into bed with your own sister to get to the throne. Yep, you heard that right. To become king, you had to marry your own flesh and blood sister. And this wasn't some one-off case of a crazed monarch. It was the system. Welcome to ancient Egypt under the Ptolemaic dynasty. These guys, descendants of Alexander the Great's general, saw themselves as practically gods. And gods, as we know, can't be mixing their divine blood with mere mortals. So they found a solution, a brilliant and disgusting one. Just marry within the family. For nearly 300 years, brother married sister, uncle married niece. Their family tree looked less like a tree and more like a tangled, sick knot of snakes. Now let's just imagine for a second what that's actually like. Can you? This wasn't just a formality, not just a political alliance. This is a shared bedroom, a shared bed. You're forced to share your sheets with someone you probably hate and fear. You feel their breath at night, their smell. You know every touch is a lie, every whisper a potential conspiracy. And on the other side of the wall are servants, listening to every creak of the bed, trying to guess if the dynasty has a future. It's absolute humiliation. Your body, your bed, it's not your private space, it's a battlefield. That's what they don't tell you in the history books. They'll dryly write, they ruled jointly. But the daily torture, paranoia, and animal fear that your husband-brother might slip poison into your wine, they'll conveniently leave that part out, just so you grasp the scale of this tragedy. You can't trust anyone, especially the person sleeping next to you. After all, there's only one throne, and there are two of you. And you know the sickest part? The marriage was just the first step, the prelude. Because as soon as the opportunity arose, one spouse would get rid of the other without a second thought. Take the famous Cleopatra. She was married to two of her younger brothers, and both of them, let's just say, met a sticky end. She kicked one out of the country, and he conveniently drowned in the Nile. The other, rumor has it, she coolly poisoned when he started getting in her way. That is the true price of power. It's not gold or land. The price is your soul, your humanity, your family. You literally have to sleep with your greatest enemy to earn the right to kill them, and that enemy is your own blood. So, still want to be king? Think about it. This isn't just history. All right, buckled up? Today we're not talking about the past. Or, not entirely. We're talking about how the past is rotting right under your feet, how it's breathing down your neck, just waiting for its moment to go for the throat. You think dark history is about dusty archives and moss-covered tombstones? Huh. Think again. The scariest horror story is the one that isn't over yet. They won't tell you this in the history books because it's inconvenient and terrifying. The textbook will tell you the dates of battles, the names of kings, and the borders of empires, but it won't tell you what's left behind, and what's left behind is death. Lots of it, thousands, millions of bodies, just dumped into mass graves. Plague, smallpox, cholera, anthrax. Think that's all ancient history? Now get this. You're taking a stroll through a beautiful city park. Birds are singing, moms are pushing strollers, everything's picture perfect. But 100, 200, 300 years ago, this very spot was a pauper's graveyard, or, even better, a plague pit, and the corpses they tossed in there were soaked in diseases whose spores can survive in the soil for decades. For centuries, people. Just so you grasp the scale of this, anthrax spores in the soil are like microscopic time bombs. They just lie there, waiting for some excavator to start digging the foundation for a new shopping mall, kicking up centuries-old dust. You just breathe in that dust on your way to work. A few days later, a blister, black as coal, erupts on your skin. It doesn't hurt. It's just there. And then the hell begins. Fever, you're vomiting blood, and your body feels like it's melting from the inside. Greetings from the 14th century, pal. And this isn't some hypothetical scary story. These mass graves and forgotten cemeteries are all over the planet. Thousands of them. No one has the exact maps. They're under our houses, our roads, our fields. The past isn't dead. It's just dormant. This isn't about ghosts and curses. This is pure, concentrated biology, pus and pain that didn't just evaporate, but just sank a few feet deeper into the ground. So next time you're walking through an old city center or digging in your garden, just remember, you're not walking on solid ground. You're walking on a thin crust, and beneath it is a giant mass grave, and it's breathing. History isn't in the books, my friend. It's in the ground beneath your feet, and it's waiting.